Hey everybody, I hope you're all having a great day so far. Okay, I'm a bit. Now it's very fidgety. But anyway, um, yeah, I had a pretty good day. And even though I didn't stream yesterday, I did manage to get a little work done. So actually, the game is finally starting to finish updating all the code. I start it up real quick. I can select 2 movements and see the monsters will actually do the animations, and then the game will move all the way through to the status update phase, which is just the very last phase of a turn where the game checks to see if any monsters have died, and then if so, it checks to see if any player has actually won yet. Oh hey, Epic Lazy Taco. Yeah, it has progressed a lot. Definitely, nothing is worse than not having any visual progress. But yeah, so yeah, we're just about done updating the code, which I'm happy about. We have a little bit of netcode left to do, but I don't think it'll be too difficult. But how are you doing, Taco? I haven't seen you in a while, so good to see you today. Alright, okay, so first of all, okay, so a lot of these phases we can cut out. That we don't need anymore. This is where it's like updating it locally and then we submit. So basically we update our status if we think any player has won or lost. Then we submit that to the server, and then we'll need to request the status from the server to get every client's state. And then we check to make sure that they all match up. And if they do, we just send a final ready check to the server, and then we can actually end the turn. Doing alright, got jobs, have been busy. Oh yeah. Well, I know how that is. Okay, so we're gonna need a couple other helper classes here. I think I'll just grab them from another place. Yeah, so we'll need the state variable, and then an event here that will fire whenever the phase changes. Let's name this to status state. I'll actually just rename this to status phase instead of subphase. Okay, and then this toString is going to help with debugging, because whenever this event is fired out onto the queue, then we'll automatically get a debug message. That will help with that. And what's... Okay, it's complaining because this is public, but the status phase is not public, so... Okay, so... Look. Phase manager is what keeps track of switching between the different phases. And a lot of this is... Pretty much I don't need any of this code, as far as I can tell. And I'm going to need the play state, which will tell me, if I can spell it, which will tell me what state of the turn we're in. Right, I can get rid of this whole thing. I'm going to have this class parent now from the flow logic container, which pretty much just enables our event system. Nothing super interesting in it. need to pass the event queue up to my parent class, which that's what this base events does right there. Did your Lua implementation go well? You remember you were mainly focusing on implementing all of that. Yeah, I did. Most of the Lua is done. Oh, I'll do that later. Yeah, so like this is like a Lua function to implement the jump animation that you saw just a second ago. Yeah, so I'm pretty much done with that, and then here's a Lua function to generate the map. So yeah, I made a lot of progress there. Okay, and we don't need to worry about this connection anymore, which is really good to see. Yeah, the old version of this code, well, in general, for some reason, I had decided to have like the net code, like each individual phase manager worry about the net code, and that was just really overwhelming. Don't need to copy that. Okay, and so this is just a helper function that will check to see if the phase we want to move to is different. And if it is, then we'll fire an event. Okay, and so to listen to the event for the turn phase change, we just add a listener to our updaters. Does it play our turn phase change? Okay, so this will call this function whenever this event is fired. Again, this is worrying about networking. Really, I could just change it to this. So if play state turn phase is status update, which is when we should start to run, then I could just advance to the update status phase. Otherwise, I'll just set the phase to inactive. Okay, and yeah, there's no really reason to keep any of these functions around for now. Okay, so now that we've enabled this update, I need to update the class that actually handles this, which is this one. Oops, sorry, I got something in my throat. My allergies have been horrible today. I don't know what it is. Usually it's they get bad more around March, not June, but I don't know, something in the air. Okay, so anyway, this class, yeah, it basically just checks to see if there's any player has attained the win state. So basically, it checks to see if any player is alive, which really just means if they have any monster on the board. And if there's only one player that's alive, then that player wins. If there's no players alive, then that means that they both somehow lost all their monsters on this turn, so that would mean that it was a tie. So that's really what it's checking for right there. Okay, I'll regenerate this constructor. It's not that helpful. Okay, and I have this function that I think is... Where did I put it? There's some class that, I mean, it just really loops through every monster in a player's team to see if any of those monsters are alive, but I was having to use that a lot that I decided to put it in a separate class, but now I've got to find it. Okay, here it is. Oh, I was looking right at it, I guess. So do I want to keep this? I guess that's kind of helpful. But yeah, I won't register a query anymore. That was the old event system. Instead, we just have a reference to the actual object. Oops. We don't need this stuff. I do need to declare an event here that will place on the queue when our work is done. It's really just simple as doing that. Yeah, we won't need that anymore. So I'll generate a constructor, and again I have to manually type the event queue in here because Visual Studio is not smart enough to know that we have to pass that up to our base class. What's it complaining about? Inconsistent player alive query is less accessible. Oh, well, this doesn't need to be a public class anyway. Okay. Yeah, so this is basically saying that we want, in the old system, that we wanted to start receiving update ticks when we are in the update status phase, but the new event system doesn't work like that. So I'll just add an event exists listener for the phase change event. That's fine. Oh, I do need one other class though. That is, I need to get this so I can actually know what phase I'm in. Let's clean that up a little bit. Alright, so if we're in... Oh, the selection mode I should get rid of. But anyway, if we're in the update phase, then we'd want to just call check for when. And it's really pretty simple. And then right after we do that, we would just queue the complete event. Then I can call a live query is, oh, this is private, so I just need to make it public. And I think we're done there. I don't need to change anything else. Okay, so the last thing I'll do before I'll test all this is the status phase manager should just listen for that complete event. Status updater dot complete. So on update complete. Okay, just to save some typing, I'll generate an empty method, but I want to move it down here to try and keep everything organized. And then first we'll check to make sure that the status state is in the correct phase that we would expect this event to fire, which would be the update phase. And if it is, then we can just advance to the next phase, which is submit to server. But I won't implement that just yet. I can get rid of that because I don't need that field. Alright, so the last thing I need to do is initialize these new classes I just updated. So the player alive query would go in here. And all this does is just initializes a new instance of this class, automatically passing any dependencies it needs, and then adds it into this context so that any other class that has this player alive query as a dependency would also receive it. So that will go in the map controller, and then in the play subcontroller, I'll add those new status update classes if I can find it. But yeah, right here. So end of turn state. And this initialize function does the same thing. It resolves and binds this class, but then also adds it to the ticking update list at the with a priority that I pass here. So this phase manager needs to be oh no, that's not it. Flow control sub, and the reason it's here and not just normal flow control is because the play flow, I want it to run after the play flow manager. It's more like a sub phase manager. And then I need to add that status updater class. And this is kind of important because whenever it gets an update tick is also when these classes check for events on the queue. Alright, so I think... Oh, status state. This should be status updater. Okay, so that should be it. We'll play and hopefully we'll actually update the status and move to the code where we need to send it to the server. Because that would mean that everything is working. So I can just kind of watch the events fire down here in the debug log to see how far the code gets. First it's got to recompile, of course. Okay, so just give some commands here. Okay, and yeah, so here we see that an event was fired for status phase to move from update to submit to server. And yeah, we can see here that event was also queued. The status update complete event was queued. So everything is working according to plan. Okay, so this next code, I call it this. I don't really like that name. Okay, so yeah, this name should be better, and it's really just going to send the status message to the server. Okay, so let's uncomment that code. And the status message... Okay, it used to be a lot more complicated. But now all it really does is just send the win state. Which is either the game is contested, which nobody has entered a win state yet, or tied, or some player has won. So yeah, it's not that complicated. Let's see. And to have that, we'll just need to have the battle, and I'll need to have the state as well. Okay, and so I don't have to type up all the netcode type things. I'll go ahead and look at a similar class. Let's see. Where is it? Oh yeah, here, action generation. So this action sender does a similar thing. It sends a message to the server and also does a ready check. And I think a lot of this code we can kind of repurpose. Okay, instead of the action generation state, we'll want the status state, and then instead of this action sequence, we'll just need the battle so we can get the win state. Okay. Oh yeah, so the disposable list doesn't exist because I forgot to have it parent from the low logic container. Okay, so the ready check can stay. And actually I can make this even simpler and just pre-give it the ready check message because it never changes. Okay, so ready is true. And then the type is play status calculation. I guess should be indented right there. Okay, and then this is the channel that will send this message onto the server. It's a client ready check, and then this is the retry period, which I think is up to 1 second, but we can always change that. Okay, and then this message sender will actually send this end of status message, and I'll want to have it on a different channel, obviously. The play end of turn status. Oh, that's request. And it will just send it on the send info period. Okay, and then this function exists we just check to see whenever the phase changes. Status, phase, and our submit to server. Okay, I don't need to do this anymore. That was because on the other class, the type of ready check could change, but for us, it's always the same one, which I already created up here. So I just set this to active, but then I do need to have the info sender generate its message. So we just call the get message function and then set that to active. All right, so what's it complaining about here? Oh, it's not an override anymore. Don't need that stuff anymore. So this is really simple. It just translates the battle win state enumeration into this end of status message enumeration. So yeah, it's not that difficult. Okay, don't need that function anymore. Okay, and the last thing this class needs to do is it needs to listen for whenever we receive a ready check from the server, because that would mean that we're ready to move to the next phase. This is one type I can simplify. So yeah, I want play status calculation and then status phase send submit to server. Okay, when this happens, we just set both of these senders to inactive and then queue our complete event. Which I'll declare here. Okay, now that this class is all done. Okay, well I guess while I'm here I might as well initialize it. Turn a status message sender. Just have normal priority. And then bring that up a bit. Okay, so the phase manager now just needs to listen for this new complete event. The status message sender. So I guess we'll just call it on status sent. And again, we'll just check to make sure that we're in the right phase, and if we are, we'll move to the next. Okay. This is all good. But this is just the client side, so if I ran now, the server really wouldn't do anything because it doesn't have... Well, actually we get an error because the server doesn't have any handles for this channel. So I might as well go and fix that right now. Okay, and I've changed the way the server works quite a bit in this update. So I guess I'll just call it play end of turn status manager. Okay, there used to be another one, but yeah, this provide. I used to have like a separate class to provide and receive messages, but it turned out to be a little unwieldy. Okay, and actually, this is pretty much just going to be another class that just switches types around from another message manager. Let me see. I think this one might be the best to copy from. Okay, so first let's get the right namespaces. Oop. Alright, so, okay, this message collector class really is just like a helper class to collect messages from every client, and then it stores them for a specific time. But we'll want to use this type instead. Okay, and this play messages stores the statuses that we have generated and we're ready to send back. So end of turn status message received, and then we'll actually store the message here. So all okay. End of turn status. Do I like that name? Regardless, I think I'll move it. Not really a reason to have it in a separate file. Okay, let's so end of turn status message. Let's just rename this to all end of turn status message. Okay, and again, we'll just need to switch some types around. Okay, so what's this? Okay, so this message actually, yeah, we have to send it the event queue and then the client list, and then by sending -1 to the period, that means we keep these messages around forever. But we just manually clear them whenever the phase changes. Okay, and then there's some events we have to listen to, and I should change these message keys. So C status, send end of turn status, and then the request. Oh. There we go. I'll just type it out. Okay, so when the server stops, then we'll just want to clear out the end of turn status message and then clear any messages we might have received. And this is just when we completely exit the play phase. I'd want to also clear out the message and set message received to false. Okay, and then here, whenever we first enter in the status calculation phase, then we'd want to set received to false. But if we enter in any other phase, then we don't expect to receive messages, so we just clear it. Okay, so this event fire, or this function is called whenever we receive a message from a client. So first we make sure that the server is in the right phase. Status calculation. If it is, then we get the connection. And then we make sure that the connection has been validated and assigned to a client, which that's what this is doing. And then we actually need to get the end of turn status message here. Okay, and yeah, if it's not null, then we register it in our message cache. And then if we receive the message from everyone, I'll just get rid of these. Then we would create the new combined message here that we would serve back to the clients when they request it. Be careful to make sure I switch out all these variable names. Okay, and end of turn status message received. Okay, we don't do anything else here because the flow manager will just see that we've received this message and then switch to the next phase. Okay, and then here is when we receive a request from another client. The first we need to check to make sure that we're in a phase where we can satisfy this request, which really is only the status check since we're at the very end of the turn. Okay, and then we check to make sure that this connection has been validated. And also we check to make sure, well, this is a little redundant, but that was the right thing actually. Because if we're in this state, then that means we've by definition received the message already, but better safe than sorry, I guess. Okay, and then the message key. Okay, and so the S just means this is a channel that the server sends a message back to the client. And then messages, end of turn status. And that's really all I have to do here. So the server game just needs to instantiate this new class. Play end of turn status manager. And then the play flow manager needs to listen for when that message has been received. So first we check, make sure the end of turn status has been received. Oh yeah, I need to set the correct phase for that. And then we also have to make sure that we've received a ready check message from every client with the right type. And if that's true, we set the next phase, which is just status check. And then we send this ready check back to each client, which just signifies that they can move on. And I think that's all I have to do for this server. Let's go ahead and test it. So what should happen is the client will send something to the server. The server will see the message, move to the next phase, and then send the ready check back to the client, and then the client will move to request from server phase. So let's just test to make sure that actually works. Okay, nope, something is going wrong. Let me see what. So the client is still sending the play status calculation ready checks to the server. Okay, and then here's the first time, because it's actually sending the status check to the server here. Turn. Okay, and then it says down here on the server, it says that they're ready. Server is doing stuff. Oh, and it even sends Oh no, it doesn't. That's the server. Okay, so the server doesn't switch to the next phase and send ready check back to the client. So I would guess that something is going wrong here. Let me just make sure that I got all these things correct. Oh, this is wrong. This should be status calc. Okay. That was all it was the wrong enumeration. Okay, now it's working because status phase changed from submit to request. Yeah, and the server sent the ready check back. Okay. So I think the server side is pretty much done now. We just got to do the client code. So yeah, first we'll have this requester. Oops. Let's just rename this to serve status message requester. And I won't need this separate receiver class, so oh, that's already commented out. And there's really nothing in this class that I'll want, so I'm just going to delete it. Container. And I'm going to copy from, it's probably from the selection would be better. So the selection's requester class. And it's pretty simple. Okay, so this from server class is where we store messages from the server, so I just should create that. And we'll just have all... Well, first I guess I'll use the right namespace, so using the Tamer networking. So all in a turn status message. That's really all I have to do there. This is status state. Let's rename that. Okay, and this message key should change to C play request end of turn status. And all we do here is that when we enter the phase, we just set this to active. And eventually we'll receive a response from the server, but I need to create that class. And just to make it a little easier to catch these messages as they're received from the server, I have a separate class that actually listens for all these messages and puts them onto a message queue. Where is it though? Oh, in here. And these names are a little confusing, but I'll just say all end of turn status is received. And this is the all end of turn status message. Okay, and this just listens for the server play end of turn status. And all end of turn status message. We just read it there and listen to that event, or we queue this event. And when we enter the correct phase, we'll store it in this from server class and then deactivate the sender because we don't need to request it anymore from the server, and then fire the complete event. Okay, too many classes open. So we just need to listen to that new event, which is the status message requester. Okay, and again, I'm just going to check to make sure we're in the right phase and then update to the error check phase. Which is really, we just need to check to make sure that all the messages from every client match up, and then also that they match what we sent to the server originally. Because if either of those things have changed, that means that either the clients have desynchronized somehow, or one of them is cheating, or the server is cheating or something. And this game is a little different than a lot of other client-server architectures where the clients just trust the server because... Oh, I didn't initialize the request from server class. But yeah, it's different because this game has modding and we can't really run mods on the server, so instead every client just kind of tries to detect cheating itself. And it works out fine because it's a turn-based game, so we can spend a little extra time doing that. Status message requester. Okay, let's try it again. Yeah, we got a couple errors. Oh, it's because the from server class I didn't instantiate here. Let's do that again. Context, resolve, and bind. End of turn from server. Okay, so one more time. Sorry for hitting that. It's like my webcam is drifting again. Still too far. I don't want to mess with it too much, but very finicky. Okay, so anyway, yeah, now we got to the error check phase, so everything looks good. Let me just make sure that the server, yeah, the server sent the message back here. Okay, so yeah, I have this error check already. Oh gosh. There's a lot of stuff that I rewrote here. Oh, because, yeah, at first I was doing things with the monster statuses, which we actually don't need to send. I'll get rid of all that code, and there's nothing interesting here, so let's get rid of that. Why does it need the local connection? Oh, because it makes sure if a client... Okay, because we need to know specifically which message is ours. Okay. Then we'll need the battle and the status state. Oh yeah, and from server. Okay. Server received. Status state. I think that's about it. So let's go ahead and generate the constructor. Logic container. So we can use the event system. Okay, then I'll just need to listen for a phase change. On phase change. I'll just rename this function. So if state dot... Oh, thanks for the host again, Wonderful. Really appreciate you doing that for me all these times. How are you doing today? Okay. So error check. For the new viewers, we're just working on the very last piece of the puzzle to actually run a complete turn in the game. We just need to check if any players still have monsters on the board, and then we see which player has won and make sure that all the clients agree on that and everything. What was your project today, Wonderful? Okay, so let's check for error, and I can assume that it does throw exception, so I want to wrap it in a try catch. I'll just steal that from down here. Okay, so we check for error, and then if that runs fine, then we can queue the complete event, which I don't think I've actually declared yet. But if there is an exception, then I need to queue a new error event. I think it's play exception event. Then the game will handle that. Pretty good computing a front-end only app to allow export input of data instead of requiring recompiling to make updates. That sounds like a good idea. That's kind of one reason why I like the mod system I'm using in my game, because you can just make a change to a Lua script or an XML file and you don't have to recompile everything. But I assume it's even more important if you're doing an online app. Okay, so I got to change this because I renamed it while this was in a comment, so I didn't rename it automatically. Okay, so what does it not like this? Not contain client IDs. I thought it did. Oh, yeah, this is the wrong. That's the event. We actually want all end of turn status message. Yeah, that's why I don't really like the naming for that, but anyway, so we make sure that this has not been corrupted either because one of these lists are null or that the links don't match up. If that's okay, then we need to find the message that we actually sent. And we just loop through every message here and check. Why do I do it like that? Must have been left over. Yeah, so we just check to make sure if the client equals our local connection client ID. And if it does, then we save that message. Okay, and yeah, if it doesn't exist, then the server for some reason is ignoring our messages, so we tag that as an imposter error. And then here it's trying to make sure that the message our current state matches the message that the server assigned to us. And if for some reason they're different, then again the server is doing some funny business. And then this last thing, we check all the messages to make sure that they all match up. Yeah, so the win states are different. Oh, I see. Okay. This is a little confusing though, isn't it? So basically, if the win states are not equal or it's in the win state and the players aren't equal. So, okay. What this is saying is, yeah, if we only care about the winning player field if we're in the win state. Otherwise, just check to make sure that the states are the same. I think I should move that to a new function. That would make it easier. Private boolean check state equality. Are states equal? Do that. Then we'd have an end of turn status message A and status message B. Okay, so if A win state does not equal B win state. So yeah, if they're not equal, then we'd return false, obviously. Then else if it's win, we return A dot winning player equals B dot winning player. And then if it's any other state and they're equal, then we can just return true. Okay, I think that's a little easier to read. I find in general I don't really like or. Operators and if statements, usually a bit confusing. Message A, message B. Okay, yeah, so yes, I need to check they're false. So if the status is equal is false, then we would throw this exception. I think that's about it. Yeah, so really we're just making sure that the server has assigned to us a message that we actually sent, and then that each message is equal so that all clients agree. And that's really the best we can do. Okay, so once that is done, status error checker complete. On errors checked. I don't like that. On messages validated sounds better. Okay, and then again, I just make sure that we're in the right phase, and if we are, then we can just advance to the next phase, which is just a final ready check. I guess I might as well go ahead and do that now, because really, this is really simple. I'm just gonna actually steal a class from another phase. I've thought about, like, before I ended up combining all these classes into one, but that was actually more difficult than I thought. Like, so even though this is a little bit of code duplication, I don't really mind it too much because all these classes are really simple. So all we do is just send a ready check or play. Oh, that was wrong. Still ready check. Okay, and yeah, this we set the message here because before the ready check type we sent could be different, but in this instance it's always the same, so I can simplify this by setting the type in the constructor here. So play status check. Clean that up a little bit. So again, this constructor is just, we send it this class, which is this kind of holds every message that's trying to be sent at this time. And then we give it the actual message class, which is just a ready check message with this type. And then the channel to send the message on, and then resend period. Okay, and then here we listen for phase change, and when we enter the final check phase, is set the message sender to active. So I can actually make this a little bit simpler. Then once we received a ready check, first I'll make sure that it's the type that we care about right now, which is a status check. And then I make sure that the game is in the correct phase, and if it is, then I queue a complete event. Don't need that. That's all this does. So the status phase manager would finally final ready check manager. Okay, so it's going to have a complete event as well. Okay, so this one's slightly different. On final ready check, first we'll advance to inactive, and then I'll just queue the complete. Okay, so first I just want to check to make sure this works. I don't think there's anything I need to do to the server. I think I already take care of that ready check, but let me just see. So this one just looks to see, yeah, status check. And then it just sets phase to initialize a turn. Okay, so I just need to initialize those two new classes I just updated. First, status error checker. And final ready check. Let's test that out. What should happen is we'll get an event down here that the status phase is complete and the game will just stop. Okay, yeah, so it set it to inactive, and then yeah, it queued the status phase manager dot complete. So we're done. We've almost completed an entire turn. So let me see what else. I guess let's just go through these classes and delete the ones that I've replaced. Clean that up. Okay, so we don't need that class at all anymore. Okay. So yeah, we're pretty much done with that. So this play, oh no, the flow manager. It would listen to the yeah, end of turn. Status phase manager dot complete. So on end of turn complete. Void on end of turn complete. So first we make sure that we're actually in the end of turn phase. Status update. Maybe I should change that to end of turn. Okay, and there's a couple things we do. Yeah, so first we actually need to save the turn and then increment the turn number. Trying to think if I want to do it like this. I guess I don't check to see. Oh, right here. Yeah, there's this as well. Okay, so if the win state is still contested, then the game's not over. So we'd want to advance turn phase back to the initialized turn. And then, but if the game is over, then we'd want to advance turn phase to none and match phase to end. Okay, and then we gotta take care of saving the game. I'm just trying to decide, do I want to just do it right here? Well, okay. Only thing I can think of is that saving could theoretically take a long time and we don't really want to hang the game, but right now saving's really fast, so I don't know if it really matters. But I guess I could just put saving into the status phase, or the end of turn. That would kind of make sense. Yeah, so we just do error check, save, file, and then a final check. That sounds good to me, actually. Okay, so let's go. We won't do this here. And I don't know if this class should even take care of incrementing the turn number. Actually, no, it should. It should because it's like the turn phase manager, so it's fine. Okay, so anyway, clean up some tabs. So on messages validated, instead of moving straight to the final check, we'll actually move to save file. Guess let's just guess we can just call it the file saver. Sounds a little weird, but okay. So I have some classes that already do these things. Save file compiler grabs all the information needed to do a save file. And then the save file writer, but I don't really know. Do they need to be separate classes? Well, I guess it's kind of nice to separate them out. So let's first start with this. Yeah, so I have this folder path. Yeah, it doesn't really need to use the event system because we'll just have whatever needs the save file writer just get a handle on it. Doesn't need that. So we'll just delete that and then generate a new constructor. Okay, so this should be public. Okay, so it actually gets a handle on the save file compiler, which is fine. Compiler. Oh, can I spell it? I don't really know. I don't think this class should do that. It should just save whatever is sent to it. Save file. And I think we'll actually have path passed to it as well. I guess I'll just leave this here for now. Okay, and so really all we do is just write an XML file for this the save file. Get rid of some of this stuff. It's not that difficult. Yeah, first we just create a serializer and then this file stream. We open it up and then have XML serialize out to this file stream. And this using clause here just disposes the stream when this is done. You don't have to dispose the XML, I don't think. No, it doesn't actually do anything besides serialize the save file out. And then I have some exceptions here. I should probably just return true or false if there's an error. We'll go ahead and log the exception and then return false. Okay, and then get path. Okay, so what this does, it generates a path using our username and then the file name and then the turn number, which is fine, but this should actually go here. I guess I'm trying to decide how smart I want this save file writer to be. Because this class doesn't actually need the battle log or local connection. I guess the question is, would the code to save a file need to happen? Okay, well actually we'll need to save a file once before we enter the play phase, which is during when the team building is complete. So I guess some of this stuff should go in here. Okay, let's just call this public string. let's actually not do the path. We'll just assume we want to save everything into this path. I think is okay. So yeah, well, first we'll check if the directory doesn't exist, then we'll create it. And then, but I think I'll actually have something else that will figure out the name for it. String file path equals path fine. Okay, I think that's best. Okay, so I guess now the save file writer doesn't actually need any of this stuff. Okay, so here we just compile all the data to create a new save file. Yeah, some of the stuff has changed. Dot turns to array. And really, we pretty much just copy everything from the battle log, because the battle log, it just stores the initial state of everything and then a list of turns. Okay, so I've got the random seed. I wonder. This out. Just want to compare. We got players, monsters. Oh yeah, I don't have the lobby slots. Turns, file name, random seed, framework mod, content mod, and then the map. Okay, so that looks good. And this was an old thing. File as player. Do I need to do this, I wonder? The file, so this was like the specific local player. Does anything use it? I don't think I need to know that because I can figure it out from the usernames. Okay, so yeah, this is actually pretty simple. And I guess now I don't need this anymore, just the battle log. Okay, so this class will have the save file writer. Okay, and save file compiler. And then I guess I'll just need the status phase. Sorry, my throat's killing me. I don't know. Got about 40 minutes left. Hopefully I can last. Okay, so on phase change. Okay, yeah, and this needs to be a flow logic container so we can use the event system. Oh, I forgot the colon. Okay, that's what it was complaining about. Okay, so tickables, add new event exists listener, and again we'll just listen for a phase change event on change. Okay, and then we'll just have another function here, save file. Okay, let's not call it that. So save file. File equals compiler. Okay, I forgot to make it public, I guess. And then file dot, oh no, I don't do anything there, but I guess I need to get the file name, so file name equals, okay, I'll really just want to copy what the save file writer used to do, so I need local connection. So I need everything, so battle log and local connection. Okay, so now that I've added all that stuff, I'll just generate a new constructor. So I don't have to type it all out. I'll need to get the event queue again. Oh, pressed caps lock by accident. And I'll just move this down here and delete the old constructor. Okay, so copy this, I guess. I don't have to add the file path. Well, I don't really need the turn number here because I can get the turn from the log turn size. Okay, so I guess I don't need that after all. I do need to keep them separate because there's a small period before the turns are. So basically we write to this file or this turns list. Trying to see where. I thought I did this already. Oh yeah. The selection log recorder, which is called during the player selection phase. So we write the turns once all the selections have been made because at that point basically all input is complete and just a turn has to play out. So, but there's a small period before we write to the battle log where the turn number is increased, but the turn list is smaller, if that makes sense. So that's why we have to have a turn counter in the battle that's separate. But anyway, so now I can just call writer, write file, file name, and that's it. Okay, so if state dot phase equals save file, do save file, and there's not really any way that this can, well, we could get an error here actually, so let's see. If writer is false, then we'll throw new play exception. Play exception, isn't it? Save. Do I have something for save files already? No, so I'll just make a new one. So save file write fail. Yeah, we'll just have it as a full exception because this would be kind of bad. I mean, really, we don't have to quit the game for it, but okay, so try catch the exception, and if we do get an exception, then we'll just type again. Queue the exception event. The exception event. Right, but if everything goes through fine, then we can just queue the complete event. And I think that's it. Okay, I need to initialize this new class. Oh yeah, it's up here. So first the map controller needs to have the new save file things. I don't see the save file reader. Oh, that's because the save file reader is actually in the container for the entire game, because we need to be able to read files during the lobby, but we won't ever have to write a file during the lobby. Is that true? Yeah, that's true, because we'll just write the file at the beginning of the team building phase if we have to. So anyway, save files, compiler. And the save file writer. And then in the play subcontroller, we'll add the new file writer from the end of turn phase. Okay, so let's just check this out. Really, pretty sure it should just work because I didn't really change much. Oh, I didn't remember one thing I have to do actually. Back. On the end of turn phase manager, I need to add one more event listener for the save file complete. And this will just move to final check. Let's, I guess, on file saved. Now I think we're ready to go. So actually what should happen now is a complete turn should go, and we'll move back all the way to being able to select for turn number 2. Okay, so we did go all the way to the next turn, but yeah, the game is trying to do a ready check for the play initialized turn. But something not working. Okay, so let's look back up here. Play status check on server. So server switches from status check to initialize turn. Okay, and then the client fires final ready check complete. Status phase goes to inactive. Okay, and then the turn phase changes from end of turn to initialize. That's correct. And then inactive, we run scripts. Yeah, then we run framework for new turn number 2, which doesn't do anything, I don't think. Yeah, it just prints out that. Okay, and then it says the script is complete, and it moves to the final check. Recheck true, type play initialized turn on the server. The client sends it again, and so the server is getting ready to check received events, but it's not acting on them. Okay, because when it receives this event, it should fire a ready check back to the client. Okay, so this is interesting because even though it's queuing a ready check received, it's not queuing ready check status change, which would happen when the ready check goes from unready to ready. Let's look into debug, maybe this can help. It doesn't actually show ready checks. Okay, so how can I... What could be going on here? Ready check received event at server ready check receiver 35. Oh, I remember what happens. Okay, so this is kind of strange, but it's just the way that the event system works. So in this event system, it's very important that events are only queued and listened to during a tick function. Otherwise, some events could just be like lost and nobody would be able to react to them. So the problem is these callbacks from Unity, whenever we receive a message, I don't know when they're called, so they could come before, after, in between a tick function, we just don't know. So I can't queue these events immediately during this onReady check, so instead I have to add them to this list to fire later. So that's what that's doing. I don't think that's the problem. Okay, so this collector is getting ready checks. Okay, what this is doing, if there's not a message collector for a specific ready check type, we create it. I wonder, is it like not clearing? But there's a discard timeout. Okay, I did that already. Yeah, because this changes. Okay, so what this is doing is we just add that this ready check type has changed, and then check to see if has received from all is false. Okay, so this ready list, maybe this is what I need to do. Problem is it's a hash, so I can't like debug it easily. Okay, let me think. I guess we could do something a little hacky here. it's going to be very inefficient, but most testing things are, so I don't mind too much. Public list ready check type. Okay. I guess, I don't know, I'll call it complete ready checks. So basically every update, I'll clear the complete ready checks. And then I'll need to copy the hash set. What is it? Ready check. Okay. I think that's it. Okay, so we'll add range for that. Okay, so this list should always now have a list form of this hash set. And hash sets just aren't serializable, so you can't show it in directly in Unity's editor. Close that because we don't care about that for now. Okay, so let's check. Let's watch this. I have a feeling that it might not be being emptied for some reason. Okay, yeah, so it's saying that these are staying complete. There's a bug somewhere. Like, because definitely this lobby ready check should have been discarded by now. I had a feeling this might cause bugs because I thought this was a little bit more complicated than needed to be. I didn't really want to run this event every frame or this function every frame if I didn't have to. Okay, let's do it this way. Okay, so bool last ready equals checks ready contains type. But I just want to make this really simple so I can rule out this part being the error. Okay, and then I guess let's check. Okay, so if last ready, then we remove this. Ready, remove type. And then if checks collectors for the specific type has received from all, which means everybody has sent a ready message, then we'll add it back. Okay, and then fire event equals last ready does not equal checks ready contains type. This basically does the same thing. It's just we always remove the type from the list if it was contained, and then if has received from all, we add it. We could make this a little bit more efficient, but it's not going to run all the time. Oh, I see what's wrong. Well, no, that's okay. Never mind. Another thing I need to do is sure we do that so that it's not overwritten. So this fire event will stay true if it was true event at first. Let's see if that helps out anything. Still staying in there. I'm gonna leave that running for a bit. This ready check discard 5 seconds. So yeah, it's been 5 seconds, and we can see here in the debug log that we're not like sending out any messages that would refresh that timer. Okay, so changes. Yeah, there's nothing going on weird here. Changes is a hash set. Yeah, so we always just add the type. Okay, so something must be going on with the timeout and the message collector. Timer period is greater than 0. I don't know what could be going on wrong here. Oh, wait. Is the ready check? Let me see. Let's go back. Because maybe if I ever clear these collectors, it's the ready thing's not updated. The only time I ever actually do anything with it. Here, timeout. Okay, well, this is fine, because what this is doing is just disconnecting any client that hasn't signaled ready within a certain period. Okay, we're just instantiated it now. Yeah, this is the place that the only place we ever actually call register or remove. Oh yeah, but those are not for ready check, so. I don't think I ever clear any of them. I should probably clickables, add new event, exists listener on server, stop. Or that's not server, stop event. Yeah, when the server ends, I should clear all these ready checks. Okay, so for each collector and checks dot collectors, collector does not equal. There can be null in here too because they might not have been instantiated yet, because I don't actually create these until we receive a specific type from the server. Yeah, we'll just clear them. That's fine. Well, I guess if I do that, I also need to clear that ready hash. And changes here. And I guess fire events we can clear as well because the server stops, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so I think yeah, something must be going on wrong here. Let's just see what code it actually gets to. Bug log. This is going to be a little difficult to do, actually. I'm going to get spammed out. Let me see if I can maybe stop the game. Well, I guess let's see if I even receive this. If I get spammed, that's okay. Okay, Okay, so I am getting spammed, which I guess is kind of good because it means that at least it's getting called. Let's see if it gets down here. Maybe it's having something to do with setting valid to false isn't updating it, but received from all. Oh, I know what. It's when it times out. Yeah, when it times out, this changes doesn't affect it. Or yeah, this. Okay. So basically, when something times out here, it's just set to inactive, but this changes does not is not updated to reflect that. Okay, so I have two questions. I can either have this ready thing either update where this has received from all, or I can just remove this ready hash completely and then just have anything that needs check if a ready check is complete to just call this has received from all. I'm curious what would be faster. Because like a lot of times I do have to check if something's ready, but usually not on every frame. And it's usually even, and like this is on the tick, but it's only when this battle message has been received and it's only one type. Let me see what else. Yeah, okay. I think I kind of tried to make this a little too fancy. So yeah, let's just get rid of that. Oops, I think I deleted the wrong list. Okay, so let's make a little helper function here. Public void is ready. Ready, check, type. And then we'll just get a collector equals collectors safe get. Okay, and again, the safe get is just doesn't worry about the length of the list. If we ask for an index that's outside the length of the list, it will just return null instead of throwing index out of bounds error. Right, so if collector does not equal null, then we'd return collector has received from all. Otherwise we just return false. Okay, so now I just need to go and update everything that used to use this ready contains. I just need to change the function. This should work better. I mean, in theory, having that hash set was a little bit more efficient, but it's not like this has received from all has super complicated math or anything. Let's go through, update all this. A little bit of busy work. Probably could do a search and replace, but I'd be a bit scared that it might change a false positive, so I'll just leave it like this. Already almost done anyway. Okay. So the ready check receiver event, I guess I can get rid of this whole thing. I don't need that anymore. I still need to have this fire events though. Oh, this ready check change event. Okay. Now this event doesn't actually fire. Which is a bit of a shame. Okay, so now we will have to check those ready checks every tick, but I think it's still better than before. Get rid of that. Okay, so some of the stuff I just changed, I'm gonna have to change again, because yeah, this on ready check change doesn't exist, so I'll have to move it to the tick. Which I guess is fine. We can just combine these two switch statements, so it's not really that much slower. Still every... Yeah, it's just every tick we just have to call is ready once. It's not still not very slow. That one's not good. Let's just change this to a tick function. And I'm gonna need to delete this. And combine those switch statements. I'd like to kind of keep them in order, which will be a bit annoying, but... Okay, so choice selections, calc goes right there. And actions goes right there. Then after turn effect goes here. And status goes right there. Okay. And yeah, there might be some way to combine these checks so I don't have to do a big switch statement, but everyone just has like these different enumerations. I don't know if trying to combine them would actually make it more confusing. I've found that that happens sometimes. But let's see. I think this should fix that error. Oh, I should get rid of this so I don't get spammed. Oh, I already did. Oh, no, I didn't. It's just there. Okay, so now this complete ready checks doesn't exist. I still would like it, so let's do it this way. Var collector in checks dot collectors. If collector does not equal null and collector is or has received from all. Oh, I can't do that this way actually. So for int I equals 0, I less than checks collectors count. Okay, then complete ready checks add ready check type. Oh, and then I need to actually get the collector, so I can type. Okay. So this will still fill up that list, although again that's pretty, or it's very inefficient, but I already knew that since it's a debug class. Okay. Oh yeah, and so after 5 seconds they disappear. So I think that was just the error that was happening. Let's actually check to make sure that everything here still works. Okay, so now it's changed. Oh yeah, to make selections. Let's try and do a second turn. And then it moves back to 2 selections. Okay, cool. One other thing I want to do is check the save files. So let's open this in Explorer. Let's start to clean this up a bit. Have a saves here. So this is the one I just created. Okay. Oh, it doesn't even. Yeah, they don't have file endings, but that's okay. So yeah, player, editor, and current username, yeah, because this is a guest of the editor. And then the players, and they each just have one monster on a team. It's talking about each monster and their stats. Okay, and then this way, the selections I made for the first turn. Okay, so let's check out this one. So it should be all the same, except it will have a second turn. Yeah, and then it'll just say we moved again. Okay, so that all looks good. All right, so are we done? Oh, I need to do a little bit more. I guess we'll do next time. So all I have to do now to update, or to finish updating all these scripts is, so errors during the play phase, and then timeouts during the play phase. So we already handle errors, but I need to, like if we have an error on our local machine, we have to send that to the server, and then the server will tell all the other players that we have a problem. And then the timeouts is basically if any phase takes too long, then we'll just disconnect because, well, actually, no, if any phase takes too long, we won't disconnect. We'll kick a player that has that's like we're waiting on. So how we do that is during any ready check, I don't know if it's been like 5 seconds or something and a player hasn't sent that they're ready, we'll just kick them and then continue on. We all need to do that. The only exception, and then let's do that. So exception during selection, because at this time, if a player takes too long, that just means that they are thinking about their turn too long, and we would just have them not actually move. So yeah, so it's basically like a turn timer type thing. On the old system, we had the server do timeouts and the local client, but there's not really a reason for the local client to do that, except unless I wanted to have like a display of the timer, which I might want to do, but for error handling, we'll have to both send to the server and then listen for errors from other players and then react accordingly. But I think we might even be able to finish that tomorrow, so I guess we'll need to figure out what our next system will be, or what our next project. I should probably look through these reminders and code cleanup to see what I still need to do. This is all up to date. Okay, that's fine. Networking. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I should look into that, but I might wait until the entity component system is complete. I did update that. Yeah, I guess that's something I could do. I did that. Okay, so yeah, actually, yeah, that was one of my goals, was to finish up this list. Oh, okay, so roadmap to beta. Well, I guess, I don't know, I'm still not ready to go back into terrain. I guess I could, but I just don't know. It's just really complicated. I was almost, well, I guess I'm already over, so I shouldn't talk about it too long, but I kind of like the way the terrain system is working now, but it just doesn't handle every possibility, like, because I'd like here, like there's a stone tile underneath this, and I'd like for the stone to show, but just getting this mesh to work is really complicated. And then like if I want to add in other types of terrain, like an ice that's semi-transparent, I think I know how I would do that. But there's just not a good way to like visualize it in my head and then turn it into code, so just need to think about it some more. But what else would I do besides that? I guess I'll just think about it and probably have at least a day, so. But anyway, I better get going and get a bite to eat. So thanks everybody for coming out and watching. I really appreciate it. I'll be live tomorrow at about noon Eastern, so you can follow me here on Twitch to be notified. I also will post to my Twitter if you'd rather follow there. I also have a YouTube channel where I post all old streams if you'd like to catch up on anything or to see how the game used to look a few months ago. And then I have a Discord server where you can chat with me throughout the day. I'd love to have you there. But yeah, I think that's about it. So I'll put links in chat, or you can check out the video description if you're watching from YouTube. But I think that's it for me, so have a great day. Bye-bye.